Hello and welcome to Today in the World, where I'll be talking about the news from around the world and giving you my thoughts. So, of interest today was that Iran had ordered the Egyptian Airlines to avoid its airspace for 3 hours. It was between the hours of 4:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Iranian time. I think this was like between 1 GMT and 4 GMT. And this was because they were holding military exercises in the area. I just wanted to kind of note that because it's so tense in that region of the world right now. And also, coming out of the Middle East was that Turkey is seeking to join South Africa's genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. The original lawsuit was submitted by South Africa and was accusing Israel of waging a genocidal campaign against the Palestinians. This comes after Turkey has been making recently veiled and not so veiled threats against Israel. And then I'm going to jump to the South China Sea, which I think is another flashpoint in the world at the moment, where the US, Australia, the Philippines, and Canada participated in naval and air force drills in the South China Sea. Interestingly, China, in what had been a response to these drills, had conducted combat patrols the same day. The US, Australia, Canada, and the Philippines have held these naval maneuvers as a show of force to promote the rule of law in the South China Sea, where China is increasingly asserting territorial claims. This four-nation force conducted anti-submarine warfare drills, combat sea passage maneuvers, and communication checks. China held its own air and sea combat patrols on Wednesday near the Scarborough Shoal. This is not the same shoal that is the flashpoint of tension between the Philippines and China, just as a note. That shoal, I believe, is the something Thomas Shoal, and it's closer to a group of disputed islands. And this is the shoal that the Philippines had purposely lodged one of their ships as a way to stake their territorial claims to the islands. The Chinese Coast Guard also recently have been conducting patrols, and the Philippine military spokesperson had said that it looked like 3 Chinese naval vessels had been tailing the four-nation drills. Beijing responded to these drills, as well as the U.S.'s aid and military funding of the Philippines, and they had said that this is what ruins countries from... They said that countries from outside regions tend to provoke confrontation and only undermine regional stability and aggravate tensions. And it's interesting, well, not super interesting. It's unsurprising that China is saying this, but it's interesting also that they're saying this considering they're the ones who are always aggravating tensions in the region. It doesn't tend to be, specifically in the South China Sea area, it doesn't tend to be other countries in that area who are aggravating tensions, because a lot of the other areas are just looking to do fishing and sometimes do oil drilling in the region. And it's only really China that is trying to take this whole territory and flex their regional muscles. Now, I'm no fan of the UN. I'm no fan of any of those like worldwide organizations at all, or any place that claims to make laws for nations as a whole. But I do think that there's only so much territory you can claim before confrontation is going to emerge. Specifically in the oceans and the seas where there are sea lanes and stuff, because there are a lot of lanes that are vital for global trade. So when China is seeking to claim the whole South China Sea as their territory, they can only claim so much of it before other countries in the area will get involved, where other nations not even involved in the area but just looking to protect global trade routes will get involved. And I think they're at a point where they definitely want to claim more territory, but the only way that they're going to be able to claim more territory right now, I think, is just via confrontation. And, I mean, there's no way they don't recognize this already. I think they're just waiting for the right moment to strike. like Russia was with Ukraine, but Russia mistimed it, and I think China is being a little more patient. Anyway, and and then we hit Bangladesh. Boy, was I wrong. It's nuts there. Oh my goodness. I feel like I was kind of right about their prime minister though, because you didn't really have these kinds of, I want to say, atrocities almost happening while she was the prime minister. I'm sure she's used underhand tactics to maintain her position as prime minister. I think there are a lot of people in politics all over the world who have used underhanded tactics to maintain their grip on power. Granted, it's not as much as charging opponents, although I can't say that for the U.S. now. But in general, most countries, not most, well, in general, Western, you know what? It's bad everywhere in terms of politics and people trying to hold on to power. But anyway, there wasn't really a time where her supporters or supporters of other parties were, or even people of a different religion, were just being attacked and killed as much as they are right now. There are a lot of horrendous videos out there right now where supposed protesters, and definitely Muslims, are attacking and killing Hindus, torching their homes and their temples. And there are stories where these Hindu people are trying to call the police, but the police don't respond. And there's not even really a police presence on the streets at the moment. And you have to wonder where all the police went right after the protest had stopped. It's like they all just disappeared, even though they were definitely out there in force recently. It's a little odd. Anyway, they are not there to stop the killings and the attacks and all the arson that's going on. The New York Times is reporting that the Hindus are being killed and their places are being burned down because they support the Awami League party, which is the party that was recently outed from power. It's absolutely, that's not the reason. I don't know where that reporting comes from. It was weird reading that, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what is... I shouldn't say I'm too surprised, considering reporting that comes out of the UK at the moment, but still, it was weird. I saw that and I was just like, there's no way. Anyway, they're also reporting that that these groups have clashed before, the Hindus and the Muslims, but that also, like, fact check, not entirely true. So the last time they had supposedly clashed was when the Muslims were protesting a visit from India's Modi, and they were throwing rocks and stones at officers and stuff. And so I guess the Hindus got involved because they're a big fan of Modi. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how a new prime minister tackles these issues that are currently going on. It's kind of interesting seeing the Hindu temples get torched, because you're seeing Christian temples, Christian churches really is what they are, not temples, sorry, but Christian churches being torched all over, like, North America. And it's like, I'm not saying, that I'm not saying whose fault that is. I just think it's an interesting parallel to draw anyway. But maybe Hasina should have stayed in office. That's what I'm kind of thinking right now, considering he didn't really have it this bad when she was in office. So, and then lastly, coming back to North America, specifically, I'm looking at Canada. When we see all this reporting coming out of the UK where people are being arrested for what they're saying online, and then we look at Canada, well, someone in Canada recently got arrested for doing nothing, because they did nothing. All they did was say stuff online. That's like, it's like we're in the UK, like all these videos we're seeing on X where people are police are coming in and arresting people because of stuff they said online. It's happening in Canada now. Well, not now. Again, this did happen before. Oh, we'll get to that though. There's this guy in Ontario who is arrested for allegedly, like that's literally in it, allegedly making violent threats. The RCMP charged him with 2 counts of uttering threats. They arrested him and charged him for talking, and he didn't do anything. This follows a 2018 story of a man who also had been charged on 2 counts of uttering threats. And it's not like there's not threats against, it's not like hate speech kind of threats, which even I'm not really a fan of arresting people for hate speech either. But regardless, these people aren't doing anything. To me, it looks like the stuff they're saying is because they are upset with the people who are in charge, and rightly so, because the people in charge are absolutely destroying Canada. But I think it's just ludicrous. It's insane. And I was going to say I can't believe it's happening, but I actually can. It's like a socialist hellscape in Canada. It's nuts. I'm at the point where it's like I'm watching this and I'm like, boy, I hope they get really far right up there. I hope they just become extremists that are protesting against this insanity. Because free speech is only going to exist depending on how sensitive your leaders are. The more sensitive they are, the harsher they crack down on things they don't like to hear. Free speech only exists really however long you can hold on to it. Because the moment you have activists that start taking control of police departments, that start taking control of courts, is the moment you start losing freedoms. And in Canada, it looks like they have an idiot in charge. And it looks like they have activists on their courts, in their police departments, on the RCMP. And I would wonder how much worse it could get. But there are a lot of stupid people in Canada. Very, very stupid people in Canada. And it can absolutely get a lot worse. And I don't think there will be a whole lot of people complaining about it. So, watch out, United States, because this could be you in a few short months, depending on who wins your election. It's rough out there in the Western world. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. And if I've missed any international news stories, please let me know. I can be reached via my email, todayintheworld2024@gmail.com, or the comment section of wherever you watch this. I've got this on YouTube and Rumble and Spotify. Also, if you're wondering where I get my news, most of it comes from Ground News. I like the website quite a bit. And sometimes I'll get leads on X about a story, and I'll look into the articles on Ground News. Anyway, I hope this was informative and that you listen to me next time on Today in the World.